I don't know how far we're in with his video about this, about the nebula, or about the planetary nebula formation theory. But we don't believe that they just fell into place. They formed in place, or in situ, as they would say. So, like the Earth formed where it is roughly. There could have been some drift over a period of time, in or out. Like there's some exoplanet systems that have like what they call a hot Jupiter, which is really close to the sun, and those are probably formed further out, and because of drag with particles in the system, like drag in the atmosphere, they eventually moved closer into to the sun, or the star that they're orbiting. So there's no real theory that these things were just dropped into place. But we're going to listen to the next bit. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of parts, sorry. But okay, I'll find the part where he left off, and we'll listen to him from there.
The electric universe. The history of this new cosmological paradigm goes back to Worlds in Collision in 1950. In the last chapter, Velikovsky referred to Jupiter and Saturn as stars, and I quote, "There I wrote with respect to the future that some dark star like Jupiter or Saturn may be in the path of the Sun, and may be attracted to the system and cause havoc in it." That was in chapter 9, The End. Worlds in Collision comprises only the last two acts of a cosmic drama, wrote Velikovsky in Kronos, Volume 5, Number 1, in 1979. That's the Kronos issue there. And then we have Dave Talbot's remarkable reconstruction of the earlier acts in our prehistoric skies, and that was published in 1980. Then in Eon Volume 5, Number 5, in January 2000, I first published my physical model of Earth's relationship to the dark star dubbed Proto-Saturn in Stars in an Electric Universe. It had appeared earlier on my website as Other Stars, Other Worlds, Other Life in December 1999. And then we have all the books by Eduardo Cardona, and they're all there. God Star, published 2006, Metamorphic Star 2008, Primordial Star 2009, Flare Star 2011. So the evidential history is...
Okay. Okay, we're going to stop it there for a second. You list the number of magazines and stuff. In science, for something to be considered published scientifically, it has to be in a peer-reviewed journal. There's like things like Nature and the Journal of American Medicine, or JAMA. There's the Astrophysical Letters. There's a number of these journals. They're all peer review, which means somebody else looks over your work to make sure you done all the right you did the calculations right, came to the right conclusions, didn't forget to mention somebody else's work in the same field, and that's what it is. These other journals, they're basically published by themselves, so they don't have somebody to overlook the data, so they can publish whatever it is. It's like blogging or making a YouTube video. You could say whatever you want, and you don't really have to have much proof or evidence. That's one of the blessings and curses of YouTube videos. It's self-done. And then there's other journals that they'll just take a paycheck, or a check for, money. I don't think anybody actually understands checks anymore, but they'll take money just to publish a journal. There's another guy that I look at, his Robitaille, the Sky Scholar. He actually does or did research legitimately in science, but a lot of his crank views on the pseudoscience views on the sun or on stars and stuff is published through these pay-to-play or predatory journals, and that's if somebody shows you, oh, I got this published in my own newsletter, fine, that's fine. You guys can share whatever information you want amongst yourselves, but that doesn't count as it's being published in Science. There are issues with the peer review system. There are times when stuff got through, like the entire anti-vax controversy started because somebody, Andrew Wakefield, got published in the British Medical Journal, or one of the journals, and they eventually had to take out his article, and he's eventually stricken off the like in England they have a system where it's government paid doctors and you have to be on a certain list to get paid, and he was stricken off that list. He's actually in, I think, Dallas or Texas somewhere. But okay, time to move on.
Earth and Mars were satellites orbiting a brown dwarf star. It was a very hospitable environment for life. Atmosphere, water and minerals were deposited on the satellites. The system changed spectacularly on encountering the Sun. The brown dwarf flared and ejected a new satellite. An axial column of satellites was formed, and intense plasma discharge phenomena were observed.
Were observed by who? Where's your evidence of this? And no, we have no such proof of this. This is just made up stuff until you could prove it.
The terms giant and dwarf applied to stars are misleading. They're just calculated on the standard model of the Sun. And the notion of a star's age based on its appearance or spectrum has no validity for the same reason. Stars on the main sequence may be characterized as self-regulating cosmic power transformers, as I spoke about this morning, that focus diffuse galactic electrical energy to catalyze fusion in their photospheres to provide radiant energy. Like the Sun, such stars derive their luminosity from very bright anode tufts in their plasma sheaths. Moving diagonally upward to the right, the current density increases. Anode tufting becomes more crowded and their mutual repulsion forces the photosphere to grow to accommodate them. At the top right of the main sequence, the light from those tufts is electric blue of a true arc, and the stars appear as blue giants, intensely hot objects appearing considerably larger than our Sun. As you might expect, blue giants tend to be concentrated on the central axes of our galaxy's spiral arm discharges. Red stars must collect more electrons than the plasma can deliver continuously to its surface, so bright anode tufts are unnecessary. The anode expands instead by forming a negative space charge sheath, and as that sheath expands, its electric field grows stronger. Electrons caught up in the field are accelerated to ever greater energies, and before long they become energetic enough to excite neutral particles they collide with in the outer sheath to take on a uniform red glow. A white dwarf is a star whose discharge current is satisfied by all the approaching electrons, drift electrons plus those that randomly move towards the anode. It has no anode tufting. It is rather like moving a low-energy corona of a main sequence star down into the atmosphere of the white dwarf star. That's why the star, the dim star, Sirius B, is brighter in X-rays than Sirius A, because the corona emits X-rays.
Okay, this may get to be an overused graphic, but it basically states how I feel. And it's kind of borrowing something from Flat Earth debunker Sideman Dan. But there's the HR diagram he shows is actually backwards. The blues are actually up in the upper left. The red stars are on the lower right. The red giants are in the upper right, and we actually just have we've actually got observational evidence of seeing these stars in different phases of their life. There's like the variable stars, like the Cepheid variables, which are in an unstable strip between the main sequence and the red giants. We see stars forming out of dust and gas all the time, like Alma, like the image I showed earlier. It shows PDS 70. There's plenty of evidence that shows that stars are forming the way the nebula model predicts. There's no proof of the electrical currents going through space, so there's not much proof of his theory. So therefore we take the standard theory as theory. We have evidence, we have mathematics, and we have computer models that all work along each other. And since I'm a bit in the 10 to 15 minute range, I'm going to cut it off here, and I hope somebody finds this useful, and have a good day.